traders at UBA say that they expect investors' cautious trading to persist this week ahead of Monday's bond auction. Meanwhile, at the oil market, it's expected that the increase in activities will remain. Chuka Nwachukwu, the chief dealer and head of trading at UBA, joins me for a market day update today. Thank you so much for your time today, Chuka. Let's look at what's playing out in the markets today. Your take on the market this week. We saw the MPC come through with a 50 basis point cut. Your reflections on some of the key moments this week.
Thank you, Ken. The major activities on the MPC meeting, we saw the 50 basis point cut, and then, of course, the introduction of 75% on the 75 CRR on some special inflows. And so, for the market, for the fixed income market, the yield has been on the decline over the past 3 weeks due to liquidity in the system. System liquidity opened this morning at about 3.8 trillion. On the back of FAC payment, some coupon inflows as well as maturity. And so we've seen the yield on the both end side of fixed income, both treasury bills and bond, gradually decline. We've seen the yield drop as low as 200 to 250 basis points. So with this rate cut, we further see further depress in yield, and we're looking at around between the 13 to 14 level. And with the prospect of a further rate cut, maybe by another 50 or 100%, 100 basis points, the yield on the fixed income market will continue to trend downward.
All right, we'll get your take on that a bit later. But now let's just talk about some of the central themes from that MPC meeting. Liquidity management was a core area there. You just highlighted that the issue around the 75% increase for CRR for non-TSA public sector deposits. But let's get into other areas. I see that overnight lending rates were more or less dropped about 100 basis points. Your take on what we're seeing on the impact on the market since that decision?
Yeah, so the overnight rate obviously reflected the adjustment, on the MPR, and so that we've seen the rate between 24 levels, 24%, and then levels. So that obviously, apart from the huge liquidity in the system, obviously market is adjusting to the news. We also have seen, like I mentioned earlier, we've seen huge bullish sentiment because some of these maturities are being reinvested into the fixed income space. So liquidity obviously is in driving activities, and so from what the CBN governor has said, you continue to have an eye on the liquidity, and that is why he kind of like introduced some other measures in terms of trying to mop up excess liquidity. Yes, of course, they also acknowledge the fact that the risk sector, is not, lending is not as much as they want, and I guess that's one of the reasons why they try to introduce the rate cuts to be able to have the banks lend to the risk sectors. And then, of course, this obviously not minding the fact that they have one eye on inflation. This will help stimulate the economy. And then, of course, the inflows that the risk sector, especially the SMEs, needs to be able to engineer their businesses, we obviously help.
No doubt the policy shift from the central bank is impacting the markets there. But let's get into your take on the sentiment we're seeing ahead of the bond auction next week.
Yeah, so we already seen the sentiment play out. We've seen the cautious trading, especially after the MPC meeting. The activities on the bond side have been, very quiet. We only just saw activities around on the 2032 maturity, and that obviously was one of the investor delight this week, and so on the bill side as well. However, most traders have one eye on the Monday auction, where you have about 200 billion will be on offer across the two maturity of 2030 and then 2033 or thereabout. So I'm not too sure. I'll need to check out the other one. So So the investors, I mean, most traders are not, they're sitting on the fence, maybe when I use that word. So I believe that the next bond auction, with the way yields are trending, if you see around the 15, 16% is obviously a good, with a good price to buy, and then of course to keep position. But other than that, the yields are, are gradually trending downward, and that obviously is a concern for most investors, and of course most traders who want to take profit. It's a good time to to cash in, considering the fact that most of these youths we are coming from around the 19, 18 levels. So if you bought at 18 level, our market is currently trading around 15 levels. Obviously, that's over 300 basis point, and is the profit is obviously very attractive and huge.
All right, now that the third quarter is fast winding down, I'd love to get your take on the performance we saw in the market this quarter and your expectations for the fourth quarter, especially around the Naira and the secondary market activity.
Yeah, so the fourth quarter usually is the quarter where things slow down. Most investors, most banks, and then most traders, it's time to appraise what they've done for the last for the rest for the year, and then so activity starts gradually slow down, and so what we will see is continuous sell-off, especially for those who are looking to take profit. Again, of course, with the drop in yield. Now, for the past 3 months, we've seen that CBN has constantly, tried to stabilize the market with some of the policies which we have just outlined, and we've seen liquidity play a major role. This past 3 months had a huge maturity, both from bond, from OMO, as well as the NTB, and then a bond coupon. So throughout this 3 months, it's been very liquid. So that obviously impacted in the interbank market, where we see that the rate didn't go as high as 35 levels it was at the beginning of the year. So the rate remained within the corridors of 26, 27 levels. So for the rest of the year, on the bond side, on the fixed income side, we continue to see drop in yield. Okay. And then, of course, there will be some maturities, OMO maturities in November, December, which we obviously, it's also another thing to look at for, because those maturities are huge, well over 5 trillion. Yeah.
All right, they're quite an interesting time in the market, but thank you so much, as always, for your analysis on the show. Chuka Nwachukwu, the Chief Dealer and Head of Trading at UBA.